2025 has been a quietly solid year for co-op video games. From the masterclass that was Split Fiction to the hilarious chaos of Peak, the beauty of LEGO Voyagers, and the aggressive action of Godbreakers, those of us with a favorite playing partner or two have been eating well. I was hopeful that Biped 2 would do enough to join the ranks of the year's co-op graduating class. The original game from 2020 was well-liked enough that I anticipated a fun and charming sequel that took the OG's unique mechanics and iterated on them enough to make this new entry a worthwhile way to spend a weekend. Unfortunately, this one really isn't it. In fact, I'm walking away from Biped 2 pretty thoroughly baffled at just what has been done to this property 5 years later that justifies its actual need to exist. I know this sounds harsh, and I genuinely don't enjoy being this guy, but the truth is, Biped 2 is one of the lowest effort sequels I've ever experienced in my life, and that's clearly not a good thing. At all. If you like the original and want to learn more about just how badly Biped 2 fails to move the needle whatsoever, stick around.
For the uninitiated. But before we truly dive in, let's get the newbies up to speed. If you've never played or seen anything about Biped before, the premise is pretty simple. You control a little droid that's nothing but a face and 2 legs. Your 2 joysticks control each leg independently, meaning you have to alternate taking steps with each stick to move your robot around. Additionally, your feet can suction onto objects, meaning you can twirl them around to open containers, flip switches, or carry around an object with you that you may need to deliver somewhere else. On smooth surfaces, you can also hold both sticks in the same direction to skate around, saving you from always having to painstakingly take each and every step forward. You and your robo-pals are having a blast on your spaceship until an SOS from a nearby planet calls out for help. From here, you'll be warped down to the planet's surface to assist in powering on beacons, because that's what you do. It's the same setup in the first game, and the same setup here, once again, in Biped 2. The game can be played in solo or in co-op. I've played a mix of both, and it is neat to see how levels are tweaked and adjusted to suit both playstyles. In fact, I'm not actually sure what my preference is between the two. At the same time, I think that speaks to the co-op here actually being a bit underwhelming in general. You will have to coordinate with your partner if you go the co-op route, but outside of having to get the timing down of some platforms you need to alternate steps on or flipping a switch or two to create a path forward, the co-op here isn't revelatory. This is good news for solo fans, but isn't really a great selling point if you're interested in this game for the multiplayer aspect of it all. I will say, however, that playing solo does come along with many sections where you'll have to control a second bot anyway. These instances are brutal, since the second bot moves so much more slowly and handles so much more imprecisely than what you're used to from controlling your own biped.
Corporate needs you to find the difference. I'm a bit worried I'm not going to be able to convince you just how similar Biped 2 is to the first title. We live in a world of sequelization and franchises that are driven until the wheels fall off. As such, it really shouldn't be entirely shocking to hear that Biped 2 isn't reinventing said wheels. But I really mean it when I say that this sequel feels particularly egregious even so. In fact, booting up Biped 2 on PS5 greets you with a splash screen that is literally the exact same image from Biped. It even says Biped instead of Biped 2. Did someone simply forget to swap the title screens out as they were copying and pasting so much from the original game? Sadly, this strange oversight sets the tone for the rest of the experience. From here, the main menu looks almost identical, and the music is the exact same as well. After properly loading into the game and jumping into the tutorial level, the weird feeling of déjà vu will go even deeper. This entire section of Biped 2 is legitimately lifted directly from the first game. It's 100% the exact same training sequence, complete with the exact same dialogue, design, and NPCs. The only tangible difference is that the coins you'll collect in this section are a bit shinier. Once you get into the actual levels of the game, they are technically unique from the first game, but that doesn't mean anything will actually feel different in practice regardless. It's like you're playing the exact same game all the time. You're still walking on the same color-coded platforms, trying to skate around but getting stuck on everything, flipping switches to raise a platform, balancing on a rotating bridge, and so on. The objectives are almost all the same, and in too many cases, actually worse or less interesting than in the original. Take a look at the picture above. These are the exact same puzzles in the exact same layout between the two games, in which you need to guide a ball into a pipe at the far right of the screen. There are numerous examples of directly reused sections of gameplay just like this. To be honest, it's a bit insulting. I felt like I was going crazy comparing these two titles. There's simply no way they cut so many corners and did so many things the exact same way, right? Sadly, it's really the case. I re-downloaded Biped 1 to test them side by side. I rolled the tape on a YouTube long play of the original. I've actually never really seen anything like this. The number of direct one-to-one similarities is staggering. Honest to God, it's like you're playing the exact same game all the time.
New and improved. So what actually is different in Biped 2 this time around? There are a few things. The main selling point here is that the game now features 4-player co-op, which is fairly unique for this type of multiplayer experience. But what having 2 more players doesn't do is prevent the game from becoming any less repetitive or uninspired as a result. There's also now hang gliding, which happens in seemingly every other level and is wildly boring. You move side to side to collect some coins, with nothing interesting to do in these sequences ever. There are some sections where you'll combine together with your buddies to pilot a helicopter, steer a minecart on a track, or aim a gun at some targets. None of this feels good or fun in practice. In fact, and perhaps partially by design choice, the controls in many of these new sections are cumbersome, to say the least. Several sections are so unresponsive feeling that I started to question if Biped 2 was really a rage bait game in disguise, because there's no actual way the minecart was misreading my inputs over and over and over again for any other reason, right? There are also sections where you chase and trap elemental enemies, which just means bumping into them and putting them in a pen. Once this is introduced, you do it in basically every level after that, and it never gets more interesting. If anything, it just becomes more tedious. The game looks slightly better in the gameplay bits, but not much at all, and frankly, not consistently. There are many characters and animation choices in the first title that somehow look noticeably better than what we have here. In the cutscenes, Biped 2 looks and runs decidedly worse than the 2020 game. I will say, I enjoy some of the new cosmetics you can unlock with the coins and stars you'll collect within levels. Were they enough to really make tracking down all the collectibles in the game feel worthwhile whatsoever? Absolutely not. But my droid did pull off his cowboy hat and aviators quite well, if I do say so myself. Things like this almost make me feel bad for being so negative about such a cute game. Almost. The last new thing to talk about is the story. No one is playing these games for the narrative, but there's an attempt made by Biped 2 to give you a plot twist at the end. Unfortunately, it actually just results in the actual most abrupt, unsatisfying ending to a video game I've ever played. I searched every single menu to see if I had missed some extra content somewhere, because there was simply no way the provided ending here was meant to be the actual conclusion. It feels like the devs just forgot a chunk of the game at the end.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is, well,
Unfortunately for you, there's a chance you might not even be able to see this baffling conclusion because as it stands, Biped 2 breaks by the end. At least on PS5, level 15 has a section where you'll complete a puzzle to open a gate. As the gate opens, the camera pans over to show you the new path forward. And then, it never pans back. Ever. No matter how many times you try. I personally attempted this level 5 times, closed and reopened the game twice, and nothing would fix the issue. In fact, a glance at PSN profiles at my time of writing this review shows me that no one has earned the trophy for clearing this level, which points to the idea that it's broken for everyone. If you're wondering how I still managed to beat the game, it's because I found one horrible workaround. Though the camera was stuck, I could tell by the haptics on my DualSense controller that I could still move my character around. The problem is that my robot wasn't on the screen. This meant I just had to aimlessly clop around, fall off the map over and over, respawn in a location I still couldn't see, and repeat countless times until I just happened to make it to where the camera was stuck. It was a true infinite monkey theory moment in gaming, and one that no one else is going to bother seeing through. Yes, this can be patched, but that doesn't excuse the rest of the game's issues either. Several times I'd complete an objective only to find my path forward simply wouldn't open. I did what I needed to do on my end to trigger a gate to drop, for example, and it just wouldn't budge. My character got stuck on everything or would fall through random cracks in the floor. Missed and completely unregistered button inputs led to me having to repeat way too many sections of the game to no fault of my own. Cutscenes are definitely running at something lower than the intended frame rate. I'm sure a lot of this can and will be fixed, but even so, Biped 2 was a disappointment in so many other ways that I'm not convinced the effort is even worth it. Closing comments. If you've played the original Biped, you've played Biped 2, and I truly mean that. This is sadly one of the lowest effort sequels I've ever encountered, down to even the game's tutorial being a direct copy-paste from the OG. There are numerous examples of blatant and unabashed ripoffs consistently throughout the experience, to the point that it feels like self-plagiarism. If you want to try out the new 4-player co-op, that's about the only different thing worth checking this game out for, especially because there's an actual game-breaking bug near the end as well. As cute as the game can be, you've quite literally done all of this before.